Hello and welcome to the Cooperative Game Chat. I am the Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
Zero. It seems a miracle has happened today. And the miracle of miracles is that one of us has actually played a game.
Yeah, had a LAN party this weekend, so
Yeah.
definitely got some game time in.
Good, man. That's good. Working hard, getting your game on. That's good. That's good. So, go ahead and tell the people what you've been playing.
I put in some time on Returnal since I had some family and friends over for my LAN party this weekend, and um, some of the folks had never seen Returnal being played, so I decided to just pop in the disc and go, yeah, so here's Returnal, and kind of played a couple rounds and everything. Uh, and for perspective, the last time I played Returnal was, I think, um, January 6th was the last time I played it. So it's been quite a while since I've put time into Returnal. And uh, this is after the new patch that came out that provided some rebalancing, some quality of life stuff. Um, so just all around some significant changes to the game. And uh, honestly, the game felt a lot better than it has been. Um, and maybe it's due to some of the stuff that they rebalanced around because just um, I felt like some of the weapons just felt so much better than the last time I had played. But who knows? That could just be uh, the amount of time between me playing this weekend and the last time I played back in January, or maybe it may have been from the quality of life changes. But overall, just still a very solid game, still a very challenging game,
Oh, yeah.
but all around just still a lot of fun.
Yeah. You got farther than I did in this game. I enjoy the game, but for the life of me, I die every single time, and I can't get to the first boss. So, you got a little farther than I am. How does the difficulty increase, or did they? How do I put this? I bought the game last year on sale. It seemed really tough, and it didn't have the suspend feature state in there. But I also heard they made it a little bit easier. Is that true, or is that
Yeah,
kind of
I feel that the enemies have been rebalanced a little better,
okay?
especially after this most recent patch, because some of the enemies that I was going up against, I uh, when I saw them initially, I was kind of dreading them. I was like, "Oh no, not this one!" And when I was fighting against some of the enemies that I sort of dread, I was just like, "Wow, you know what? That enemy wasn't as bad as I thought it was." So. It seems like the enemies have been retuned, so um, might be a good time to kind of check it out and everything.
Okay. I'm looking at the sales numbers, and the first thing that comes up, I googled Returnal sales, and this is interesting. The article that pops up is Forza Horizon 5 has already sold more than Returnal, and it isn't on the Game Pass. Returnal has sold 560,000 copies as of. Oh, this is kind of old. November 8th, 2021. I mean, that's not bad for what this game is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would think that if Sony was to, well, they just bought Housemarque, right?
They bought them last year, but they made the announcement that Returnal will be coming as a free PS Plus game very soon.
As part of the PS Plus streaming service, right?
Um,
Well,
yeah, part of the evolution, I think,
yeah.
but I know that they were saying that well, I believe it was the lead for Housemark had said that he's hoping that with PS Plus that maybe it might give the game a little bit more life and legs with more people logging on playing, especially with the new co-op mode and everything.
I do you think that's going to be possible? That it may, because I don't see Returnal. How do I put this? Returnal doesn't have the same kind of interest that, say, an Elden Ring or a Dark Souls has. Their Returnal is tough in a different way than Dark Souls, and the game looks beautiful, but it doesn't have the trappings of a Dark Souls, where a lot of what you see tells a story. Returnal is procedurally generated and just made to give you tough encounters. So I don't. There's going to be more people who are going to play it, sure, but I don't know if it's going to be that much that people are going to jump on Returnal because of the PS Plus, the PS Plus restructuring. Also, because the PS Plus restructuring isn't that incentive, is not that much of an incentive to it. So,
Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel too. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Housemarque's games. They make some really, really solid games with very, very tight controls. But the games that they release are also, one, very niche, and
yes,
two, um, there is quite a difficulty curve with a lot of their games too. So it's not something that has very broad appeal, unfortunately, and that's just what it is. So I know personally, I'm not too surprised that uh, Sony bought up the studio, since they were probably at risk of closing down and everything. But yeah, just uh, as optimistic as the lead for their studio thinks that PS Plus is going to help put some more eyes on the game, and I think I think it's a great game, but I'm just not sure it's got that sort of a broad appeal that will appeal to everybody.
I mean, just from a pure marketing standpoint, it was when it was being released, it looked like they were marketing it as a horror game more than an action arcade game, which is what it is, and
Oh yeah.
which I think turned some people off of it when they realized how tough it was. Um, what else? I mean, we've talked about how having a female on your cover lessens sales, but there was also the fact that it was a PS5 exclusive game and it's on a system that still people can't get. So that's another problem that it was against it. So I don't know. I wonder if in Returnal's case, because Returnal is a quality game. I wonder if it's going to be one of those games that starts selling better as more people get PS5s.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a possibility, because I know a lot of the Housemarque fans,
Mm-hmm.
uh, they would probably love to play it, but it's like you've said, just right now, unfortunately, PS5s are still a little bit difficult to grab
Yeah.
and everything. So I imagine once that issue is solved, maybe that might help the sales numbers a bit. But yeah, just there's really no telling on how things will shake out too, because uh, if they get a pretty good setup for the PS Plus deal, maybe they get a pretty large cash infusion from Sony, even though Sony technically owns them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, just um, a big number of downloads might also um, help get them a little bit more traction with developing stuff, and Sony not having too much of an issue with saying, "Oh, you want to develop something very niche? Okay, that's fine, whatever." So,
Well, I don't know about that. I mean,
yeah.
if you Returnal was a risk in Housemarque's in with for Housemarque, and a half a million sales is nothing to sneeze at. That's pretty good considering what the game is.
Oh,
But
yeah.
but if you bought Housemarque, you want them to do the thing that they're best at. And even though I like Returnal, the best thing I think they're good at is small downloadable games that have a high skill ceiling. So I would rather them every 2 years have a $20 or $30 game out that's like Super Stardust or like Dead Nation or something along. What are the other games? They didn't do Dead Nation. Wait a minute. What am I saying?
Resogun, they did that one.
Resogun. Okay, thank you. Yeah, like I'd rather them do games like that and Next Machina. Matterfall? What the hell is Matterfall? They did do Dead Nation. What am I talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
Dead Nation was real good. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Look, I would rather them do that than give them a lot of money and expect them to sell 1 million units. Because with just the style of games that they do, they're not going to sell 1 million units. So
No.
I'm not against Sony buying them. I think it was a good idea. They make quality games for their system, but be realistic here and use them for what they're good at. Is what my thing is. Unless they have a fantastic idea that we don't know about that they're developing. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on it. I think they should just. I think downloadable games should be what they do for the time being.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm inclined to agree. It just Returnal was sort of an interesting choice,
Mhm.
especially since just I had mostly known Housemarque for just sort of their arcadey titles, Super Stardust, Dead Nation, Resogun, and then just here out of the blue, hey, we're gonna do uh, a third-person roguelike shooter, and it's gonna be sci-fi with all sorts of like mind-bending storytelling and stuff like that. It was just like, whoa, that's a real deviation for him, but I'm not against it.
Okay. Okay. So let's move on to some of the topics that we're going to talk about today. First off on our plate here. Zero for about God. Is it almost 20 years now? We've been dealing with ads on games. Now, some of you, yeah, I just thought about that. That's crazy. And this is a topic that a lot of people, a lot of gamers, when they talk about online, said they hate it. It shouldn't be there. I paid my $70, $60. I shouldn't be advertised to. Blah 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 blah. But what they don't realize is they're being advertised anyway. A lot of games, especially sports games and racing games, they implement billboards and organic ad content in their games to sell products while you're playing the game. That's why you pass through, let's say, Coca-Cola branding when you pass a certain turn or something like that. The reason why we're talking about this is an article came out from Insider, and it states, from Insider, here we go, that Microsoft is reportedly wanting to bring ads to free-to-play games on Xbox. It's interesting because according to the report, or things that we've heard about otherwise, this is not for Microsoft's gain. This is for the gain of the publisher of the games themselves. That Microsoft is not gonna, how do I put this? They're not gonna benefit from doing this. They're just adapting the technology in order to do this and have billboards with advertisements in game. Zero, what do you think of this development in Microsoft trying to have more technology in order to advertise to us through free-to-play games?
It's interesting. The whole piece with advertising in sports games, it's not quite as simple as most people seem to believe it is. Mostly because of the fact that sometimes some of the stadiums they are contractually obligated to have the advertising in there,
Oh yeah.
both in the real life advertising of the stadium, but it sometimes the agreements also have a stipulation saying, hey, if your stadium is reproduced in any sort of media, be it TV shows, video games, etc., you must also make sure that that anyone who chooses to recreate your stadium also abides by this contract as well too. So
Yes.
there are cases like that, and this announcement that the free to play games were getting advertising in their games is actually a bit interesting because the first thing that came to mind for me was Burnout Paradise back on Xbox 360 and PS3, but in particular during the time that I was playing it on I believe it was PS3 was where I originally rented it. Um, when I had loaded up the game and started driving around Paradise City, I saw billboard ads for Barack Obama's election
I
campaign, and
know.
it was the most surreal thing. I was just like, "Whoa, what in the world?" They're election ads from the real world in my video game. What is this?
I remember that too because what happened? Remember this. I was trying to get one of the billboards in order to complete the game, and I think I kept aiming for the wrong billboard, and all of a sudden I see Obama, and I'm like, "What? Wait a minute!" But yeah, that's why it's interesting that this is not a new thing. This is something that gaming has been doing for a long time, and when we discussed this article, I think we both hit on it at the exact same time. This weird Obama campaign advertisement. I am surprised. I'll say this: I'm surprised more candidates haven't done it, unless
Yeah,
there was such a stink back then that I don't remember, because I just didn't care at the time. But and we weren't as polarized back then as we are now. But I don't remember there being a stink about it. I think more people were like, "Huh, what is this?"
yeah, it was such a interesting time because just much like your mention of sports games and stuff like that. For me, when I was playing racing games like Forza Motorsport 4 and stuff like that,
Mhm.
just seeing the advertisements in the racetrack, like the Mazda branding on Laguna Seca, which at the time was under the possession of Mazda. I was used to seeing all the Mazda advertisements around Laguna Seca, and then also
Yeah,
the various racing part manufacturers being plastered on the track, and I was just like, okay, this is just normal for me because I know that the racetrack is owned by Mazda and is sponsored by a whole bunch of other racing part and racing accessory manufacturers. So yeah, no big deal, whatever. Just advertising's there, and then here you are with Burnout Paradise, completely fictional city, no real world ties or anything,
yeah,
and you've got billboards into there, and me, this was like the first time I'd ever played a Burnout after like Burnout 3.
oh,
So so for me it was just like, okay, Burnout Paradise, okay. Probably fictional advertisements because that's how it was in the previous game, and then just load up into Paradise City, start driving around. I'm just like, whoa, what in the? Oh my God, these are real world ads. What in the Obama campaign election ads? Whoa,
yeah.
this is so weird.
I I really wonder if the Obama administration got into some kind of or Obama camp. They're the campaign. The Obama campaign got into some trouble with that ad because if I recall correctly, and it's been a while since I was when I was averse to what campaigns can advertise to. You have to be able to advertise in the same place as your opponent can. So if your opponent, for example, if they are not allowed to, I might be wrong on this. If they're not allowed to advertise on a certain channel, neither can you, because it has to be even. They have to allow even time in order to allow someone to advertise or talk about their election campaign and their thing. I wonder if they got in trouble, because it just seems weird that, and it might be just the campaign was smart. So don't get me wrong on there. I just found it weird after seeing Obama ads on there. I didn't see McCain ads at that time.
Yeah.
Because to me that would have been, and it could very well be that the McCain campaign just wasn't on the ball with that. So, but yeah, I mean, let me ask you something. Do you have a problem with ads on free to play games?
If it's free to play, not necessarily. Mostly because just the price of entry into the free to play game is free.
Yeah.
And if you're one of those players who just has zero intent of buying anything, then your eyes on the ads gives the developer something to kind of help keep the lights on, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
So that's why, or that's where I don't have a problem with it. However, the concern I have with respect to something that bleeds into my real world profession, computer security, is um, can the developers make sure that the sources for their ads are secure? Because it's easy enough for a scammer to buy ad time and just have their scams being plastered all over a game. And if that happens, then just the developer, or I would imagine, would be culpable for pushing bad advertisements in their game, especially with what I see in my day job, where you have scammers pretty much buying Google ads for like tech support. So you've got the one elderly person who is trying to look for a solution to a what would mostly be a minor computer problem, and
Mm-hmm.
they end up calling this like scam technical site that basically says, "Oh well, we've infected your PC with some malware because you're being cheap. So you need to go to your local 7-Eleven and buy like $4,000 in gift cards and send them to us."
Oh yeah.
So that's where my computer security job mentality sort of veers over. It's just like, okay, well, that's interesting that Microsoft wants to allow free to play games to use ads, but can they verify the source of those ads is not going to be malicious? Because if not, then there is some safety and fraud concerns that I personally have.
I mean, I think, like, if you have a free to play game on a console, you have capital backed up, which you can afford somebody who deals exclusively in advertising sales, and those type of people are gonna want to contact legitimate businesses in order to get advertising, because you want to give an air of legitimacy. If you like, let's say if Coke is, I'll use Coke as an example again. Let's say Coke decides to advertise on the free to play game. Just by having Coke do it, you're gonna have other people saying, "Well, if Coke is doing it, then I don't see why I can't do it if I'm a legitimate business." So you'll have other legitimate businesses who will do it too. So I don't think that will be that much of a problem. That you're gonna all of a sudden see Scammy McScammerton's hardware repair and advertised on Air Mech Arena. I don't think that you're going to see that. I think that will just be the singular issue with free to play game studios, is they're going to have to hire a sales team in order to get advertisements. So, which isn't that hard. So, I seriously do not think that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, it should be a problem, but as a person who works in computer security, it's always one of those. It may not be a problem now, but
Yeah.
it could potentially be a problem later on, sort of a thought.
Yeah, you could be surprised how this can turn to a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Fair. Okay. Um, I have no problem with being in free to play like you. Um, yeah, like I said, like you. If it's on free to play, advertise to me. I don't care. I'm playing the game for free. If you want to add an option where if you want to turn ads off to spend like $10 like they do in some mobile games, I guess you could do that, but make that a little more of an incentive. You could do that, so that's a sales opportunity.
Yeah.
This might be controversial. I don't necessarily have a problem with it in paid games. Let's be honest, sports games you're getting advertised to, and like you said, there are billboards all across arenas and baseball stadiums that have advertisements in them that require you to put the advertisements in. But if you were to say get a game for $40 and it has ads on it, or you spend $70 to get the non-ad version, I don't think I'd have a problem with that. Call it controversial and call it stupid, but I think if it leads to a game being cheaper, then I would have less of a problem with it. Now, is that going to happen? Probably not. They're probably going to be a $70 game, and then before you play Resident Evil 9, there's going to be a Resident Evil movie trailer that comes in before you play every single time, so you want to watch that movie. So that's what I think. I think that's what people are afraid of, and honestly, you kind of should be, because the way the business side of the gaming industry is, I wouldn't be the slightest bit surprised if that starts happening. I mean, EA was doing it with UFC and Madden and what are the other ones? Anyway, they're sports titles for a while until they finally got shit for it. NBA 2K was doing it before you got into a game on my team. They were advertising a new show that was coming out. I mean, they stopped doing it for now, but only because the people who complained about it were loud enough. They're just waiting. They're just biding their time until someone else does it, and it's okay again. So there you go. I mean, like I said, I don't have an issue if it means cheaper games, even though I think I'm fairly confident in saying they're not going to make the games cheaper. They're just going to advertise to you.
Yeah,
So,
especially since for them it's double dipping and they're getting all the cash. But
I don't know.
yeah, much like you, I probably wouldn't have an issue if it did lead to cheaper games because I'm almost reminded of like the Amazon Kindle devices where you can get the ad-supported one for like um, 30 or $20 more.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get the ad-supported one, you do have the ability to go into your device and say, hey, I want to pay the $20-30 to just get rid of the ads forever and no longer have my screensaver advertise to me random Amazon stuff that I need to buy or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I probably wouldn't have an issue if developers were just like, oh yeah, so if you don't want to be bombarded with IRL advertising for let's say, I don't know, just the next Forza Motorsport game or something, and just instead of the arenas being covered in IRL ads, maybe just have fictional ads or whatever, then yeah, just if it would lead to a cheaper game, I would have no issue. Just go, yeah, just yeah, I'll go ahead and pay the extra, or just pay pay the extra for it, and then just if I just don't really want to spend the extra, just get a cheaper version that has all the ads in it, then yeah, that'd be fine. But I definitely don't see the developers and publishers signing on board for that. They'd probably just go, no, we want to be able to double dip in the cash, so yeah,
Oh, yeah.
ads forever.
I mean, but this is a perfect business opportunity to to essentially get more money in many ways. In for a I'm sorry, for a for a developer. Oh my god, what is wrong with me? For a developer, I mean, I'm already thinking about 2K right now. If I were 2K, I would give them the option. Do you want to watch the ad? If so, you'll earn some VC. If you don't, that's fine. You don't have to watch it. Some will watch the ads for the VC and be like,
yeah.
I'll get 100. I'll get 100 VC. Okay, sure. Why not? I'll watch your stupid ad. Or
Yeah.
if someone's that annoyed by it, like, just turn this shit off. Okay, 1,000 VC. Fine, 1,000 VC. There you go.
Yep.
Some will do it, and that's a business opportunity. Kind of insidious, sure, but I hate to say this, but this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's sooner rather than later. It's gonna happen, and even if you complain on Twitter, it's gonna stay because they're gonna and the gamers on Twitter and in general fall for this all the time. But games are so expensive to make. You don't understand. Oh, you're taking food off the table of the poor developers. Oh my god. Where the reality is, no.
Yeah.
You gain the money back when you sell it to the businesses, and you gain extra money on top of it when they buy digital. So don't pull that bullshit on me. That's not true. So if you're getting a quality game, you're gonna get your money. Don't start claiming poverty by saying, "Oh, games are so expensive." You're like, what is it? I'm just curious. NBA 2K22 sales. I'm curious about this now. NBA 2K22. 8 million units. 8 million units for 2021. Okay? 8 million units. So 8 million units times 8 million. Is that 6? That's 7. There we go. 8 million units times $70. What is that? I think I put an extra zero there. Uh-oh.
560 million? And that's
is that
pure revenue.
Hold on, let's let me just make sure. I'm getting old. This is not fun. 70. Don't get old. Yeah, it's $560 million. I am sorry, but if you're telling me you can't make a game and get profit from over $500 million, that is bullshit, and I am not falling for that. Seriously.
Yeah.
And on top of getting the DLC that you're paying, I mean, to scream poverty, I say, oh, the developers. That's bullshit. Sorry. Now, if this was an indie developer who was selling DLC to a game, then you might have a case. You might say, like, okay, let's do sales for Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Okay? If they'll show up. Okay? If they'll they may not. They're not showing up. Okay. Okay. Over 2 million copies. Okay, and I think that's across all of their iterations. So 2 million copies. All right, and they sell it for like what, $30, $20?
I think it's $20.
$20. Okay, if they turned around and said for $10 we'll give you DLC, I think a lot more people would be okay, cool, because that will support the developers. They're respecting my time and money. It's a matter of respecting time and money, and it's not. And these big games that cry poverty every single time, and people fall for it every single time.
Yep.
I mean, every single time. Like, seriously, the scene from Naked Gun 33 and a Third pops into my head every time I see it. When people are like, but the poor developers, they won't get paid. Yes, they will. Come on. Like, oh, God. So, yeah, expect the technology to be done in about a couple of years for free-to-play games on Xbox. Expect Sony to do the same thing soon. And then expect them to be in your paid games in another 3 years. And you're going to sit there and take it because the developers.
Yep.
Sorry, I hate to be that way, but it's the truth. People complain about it, but then on the same breath, they'll say, but the poor developers. So I just, whatever. Okay. Let's move on. Now, God, we talked about how Returnal was a niche game. But I never thought we'd see a niche console come out, or a niche piece of hardware come out in the gaming industry. I never thought this would happen again, because you would think that unless they serve a particular emulation purpose, I don't think anybody would be interested in it. But here we are with the Playdate. The Playdate was released this week. I think it's being sent out to customers now. And a bunch of YouTubers and websites got a hold of it. The developer of the Playdate is Panic. And I don't... Did they make... What kind of games did they make before this? I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure off of hand. But I know the console was developed in collaboration with Teenage Engineering, which Teenage Engineering is a real interesting little outfit, because most of the stuff they make are just unique looking musical synthesizers. So if you're into electronic music, then yeah, they probably sound super familiar. But yeah, if you're not really too familiar with their stuff, then yeah, just Teenage Engineering is just going to be like, huh?
Yeah. They seem to be a mobile developer, and they make they make mobile apps, and they distributed Untitled Goose Game. That's where I remember them from.
Yeah.
House did the game, but they I think they released it.
Yeah, I believe that they're a publisher or maybe a porting firm, from what it looks like.
They also did Firewatch, and hey, I remember. Is that Donut County? No, it's not Donut County. Okay, no, they didn't do Donut County. I like Donut County. That was a fun game. Yeah. So, and this is something that was interesting to me until I heard the price, and then I immediately lost interest in it. I think we both have to say neither of us bought this.
No.
Okay. But we're curious with all the talk and all the reviews that have been coming out with it. So I thought this would be interesting because it is new hardware, so it's worth talking about. And I don't think we're ever going to know the sales of this thing, but I'd say it's worth a shot talking about. So let's get into it. Zero. What did you think of the Playdate before it was released?
Before it was released, I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. A portable style console that's sort of a throwback to the original DMG 001 Game Boy. but with a lot less chunk than the original Game Boy, and uh, it's got this really quirky crank on the side of it for games that will apparently be leveraging that. Okay, looks real interesting, looks real neat.
Mm.
Oh, it's also developer friendly. Okay, that's pretty cool too because uh, you can potentially do some real interesting stuff. Okay, that's really interesting. And then of course, the design was just real neat looking. And then of course you find out that Teenage Engineering had a hand in helping design the console, and I was just like, okay, just real interesting,
Yeah.
um, just really quirky, and definitely not for everyone. But as a person um, who portable video games have had a massive influence in his life, I was just like, okay, I'm quite interested. And then, of course, when they finally got around to making the big announcement of uh, how much uh, how much it was going to cost, and the price was a whopping 179.99, and that's not including taxes and shipping. And then if you live outside of the United States, any sort of duties and customs costs that may be associated with that,
Mm.
it was just kind of like, whoa, okay, that's a lot of cash.
Yeah.
And considering that a um, Nintendo Switch Lite is just only $20 more, it was
Yes. Good point.
it was just like, wow, I don't know how they're going to try to make a profit on this, or if they've got some sort of like financial plan, but that is really, really pricey. Just and normally I have no issue with niche consoles, and I bought a few niche consoles in my lifetime career of gaming, so it's not really that big of a deal to buy a niche console. But for this one, it was just kind of like, wow, just I just really don't know. And to be fair to Panic, um, the purchase of the console also includes season one of their weekly digital delivery video games
Hmm.
to be dropped onto the console. So, and season one apparently will include 24 original made games. So,
Right.
just kind of a neat concept. But yeah, just even then, it's still really niche.
Yeah, it's cute looking. Like I think that's the best way I can call it. It's cute looking. It's a little square, uh, little handheld with a like you said with a crank on it, which is what makes it unique. Um, when watching videos about it though, it's it's smaller than it'll be smaller than my palm. That's the thing that really struck me. It was like, wow, this is really small. Like,
Yeah,
how do you get a handle on this? And of course, with some reviewers, they said they started getting hand cramps playing it because it's so small and you have to crank and you have to hold on to it, and in some cases you do that and press buttons. So there's that problem. The one problem that we talked about when we first talked about the play date is there's no backlight to it,
yeah,
and that's I think you agree. So I'm gonna just say it. It's 2022, and your handheld doesn't have a backlight, and it's over almost $200. Are you kidding? that's that's stupid. Why would you do that? I don't understand. I understand you have a cute little concept, and that, and it's neat looking. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of neat looking, but if you're then gonna have to be like I was with the Game Boy Advance in what 1999, having to find a light source in order to play the game to shine directly on the screen in order to see what's going on, I think it kind of failed already. And as cute and as niche as it is, that's a huge pain in the ass. We already have devices that like that are what are below $100 that have backlights in them. Why are you going to take away backlights? How much money are you saving on a backlight? That is strange to me. That's the thing that I looked at and went, no way, I'm not buying that. You're expecting me to play a game. I don't know. I think a lack of a backlight is a huge misstep. And I think you discussed it too when we talked about it. They could turn around if this is successful and say, "Oh, here's the backlight version for $50 more," and that would be too expensive. Because honestly, $180 for a novelty item is too expensive to me. Like I'm spending, for example, for $200. Let me make sure because I bought it and I haven't had it sent to me. The analog pocket. Okay, let me check. Let me check the price on it. I think it's 200. Or
Yeah,
are
I
they
believe
not,
so as well too.
or are they not going to show the price now? Shit. Okay, I might be wrong, but I believe I spent $200 on the analog pocket, and that's a niche product. But it has a backlight, it has buttons. It's big enough where it looks big enough where I'm not going to cramp my hands playing it. I mean, it doesn't have a crank. Gee, that's a missed opportunity. But I I look at the Playdate and I look at the pocket and I'm like, and I might be wrong. I might be missing something here. But I'm looking at that and saying, if I can get something that can play games, all sorts of games, for $200, but in this thing is smaller than my hand, smaller than my palm, is $180. I'm looking at 24 bite-sized games. I mean, that to me is not worth it. To me,
Even with that being said, just um, a console's only as good as the development is for it. And while it's great that they've got 24 games already um, made and set for it, just uh, if the adoption isn't really too big on it, then there may be no incentive to make games on it.
yeah,
There's It's just a catch 22 and everything because uh, if there's not really a community for the console, then you may have uh, you may have just a moment where people just go, nope, sorry, just not worth my time, not worth the risk, not worth the reward, and that's not even getting into things like potentially just how much Panic is paying these developers who are putting out the free games that are for the paid seasons of the console because just if the incentive for being paid by Panic to uh, put their game as being one of the featured games on the subscription download service for the Playdate, if the incentive isn't that good, then I just don't know what to really say, uh, because just again, there may not be an incentive to make games for it and everything. So, but at the same time, to be fair to Panic and everything, the Playdate STK looks really really good, and apparently um, the only thing that you need is just Lua and C APIs, and you even get a simulator to play around with development and everything. And then for making art assets and things like that, they have a pulp utility which lets you make pixel art for the Playdate console and and it gives you, I guess, some sort of simulation of the screen so you can make sure that the art assets are made properly and scale properly with the screen. So they've got some interesting tools, but again, just there's there's just the big elephant in the room of, you know, is is the payoff worth it to make games on the Playdate? Because Panic says that you can sell and share your own code for games, and you can compile the game any way you wish. So you can sell it as a direct download on your own site. You can post it up on a game store like maybe itch.io, I'm presuming, or any sort of digital marketplace. And so I guess the main concern that I have with the Playdate is that while personally I have no problem with niche consoles, I think niche consoles are great. Um, the price, the price value proposition of the Playdate being a whopping 180 bucks, games that um, are being distributed by their service, which I assume season two will probably have an extra cost, especially since they're giving away season one's games with the purchase of the console. Uh, if season two is packed with just as good quality as of games as some of the season one stuff, then cool, great, fantastic. But if a bunch of the developers don't really see a point in it and just go, yeah, you know what, forget it. Um, I don't want to produce any more games on this thing. Just the incentive that uh, Panic is providing for to have our game listed in the subscription service is just too low to offset the development cost, then at that point the Playdate could be dead in the water. So,
Mhm.
uh, and I mean, I know a part of me still has that curiosity of I'd love to pick one up. I'd love to just get one in my hands and be able to kind of play and tinker with it and see what it's all about. But at the same time, it's there's the other part of me that's just like, oof, that is that is still a lot of money to plunk down just to hope that uh, this is exactly what I'm looking for, or that I'm just gonna have just an endless amount of curiosity for it.
Yeah.
And I'm not a coder either, so it's not like I'm gonna all of a sudden download their SDK and start making my own games for fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, just best of luck to Panic on the Playdate. Uh, if they release a version 1.5 or a version 2.0 that has a backlit screen, you
Mhm.
could say my curiosity might be a little bit more curious. But
Yeah.
um, the other thing that I don't quite like, and this is more personal preferences, I hate the garish yellow.
The yellow, yeah.
Yeah,
Ah,
it is so garish.
yeah. I mean, but it just the shape of it is garish, so it kind of fits. Um,
Yeah.
my issue squarely with the price. If you sold this at, let's say, $100, let's just, I don't know if that. Bear in mind, I don't know what the cost to develop this was, so it could mean that the crank might be enough of a cost where they had to sell it for over $100. If you made it more of a price that was, I don't know, you had to think less on it, or someone think, oh, that's cute, yeah, I'll spend 100 on it, and it came with a keychain or something that you can just play with and like that. That might have been cool, but for $180, and I didn't put this two to two together until you mentioned it. For another $20, you get a Switch Lite. So I can spend $200, get you probably get a game with it as well. You probably get Mario Kart 8, a game you'll want to play, and instead for $180 you get a system with no backlight, a crank, and a bunch of mini games that frankly you don't know how they play until you try them. And and the other games that are releasing this season, you don't know what they are until they come out. Which to some might be an exciting, ooh, I don't know what I'm getting. What could it be? To others, it's like, I want to know what I'm paying for. So it's a double edged sword there. I'm not interested at all in it. I was curious about it. That's the most I was ever. I was just curious and was like, I wonder how this will do. I think this system will sell okay, but not enough for a season 2, and they'll start discounting this to about 120 at some point. Let's say 6 months from now. I think this is not going to sell well. I think it will be a burden to Panic, and they're going to want to offload on this. Unless like I said, unless the overhead on it is it costs $50 to make, and they're selling it for $180, so it's profit, then okay, they don't have to worry about it. But I don't see if they spent a good amount of money on the price to make this, I don't see them making their money back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm probably in the same camp that I just don't see it being profitable. Just they've got to be losing money somewhere between the cost of materials and production, and then I don't know if they're paying the developers who are part of their season 1 video game showcase for the console. I don't know if they're paying them some sort of incentive, or they're saying, hey, we're going to pay you, $4,000 up front to get your game in front of the, X number of thousands of people who have already put in their pre-orders for this thing. Just and likely we'll never get any sort of visibility into that. I have no doubt. But yeah, that's just kind of where I am. Just I would love to see this sort of get interesting, but I'm just not quite sure how they're going to get traction on it.
Yeah, and this might just be a fun little niche product where they said we did it for fun. We had extra money lying around, so we just did it. To me, that sounds like what they did. And if that's the possibility, okay, cool, you did it. So that's it. And it'll be one of those interesting things that you will look on YouTube 5 years from now and go, "Do you remember the Playdate?" I'm like, "Oh my god, I remember the Playdate. That was interesting."
Yeah.
And then go on eBay to say, I wonder how much it cost. $400, never mind. And forget about it all over again.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay, Zero, our last topic is about Sega. And I'm having a hard time really setting this up because there's multiple stories about what seemed like the same thing, but they're being discussed in different ways. So we'll get the main gist, I think, of what's getting people talking about this. Sega is developing a new big-budget jet set radio and Crazy Taxi. Now, that sounds exciting until you read on a little bit, and it's apparently attached to something called their Super game, which right now we don't know the full details of. And it looks to be a project that is looking at using NFTs for monetization. Oh my god.
Also, Fortnite-style microtransactions to increase engagement and monetization.
What it sounds like, to me at least, is they're trying to make maybe a Sega version of Roblox, I guess, where it's multiple different games in one game. Maybe. I'm not even sure. That's why I'm kind of confused by this, because and I've read the articles and they kind of all say the same thing, but they kind of deviate into what it is. If it's a mini, if it's part of the Super game, or if it's was supposed to be a super game, but they've branched it out like what happened with Overwatch when it was released. It was part of an MMO, but they took it out and just made the game part of the first player hero shooter, first person shooter hero stuff. So I'm really not sure, but the talk of it being a big budget Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi is what's getting people excited about this. I guess I really didn't set this up very well, but what are your thoughts on the reports about what Sega is doing?
Um, it's interesting, but also it just seems like marketing, marketing puff soup,
Yeah.
for lack of a better way of putting it, because it's just a smattering of like the usual marketing stuff that's just getting a lot of hype and traction right now. So stuff like hey, we want Fortnite style engagement and monetization. And when they say that, the first thing I think of are skins and whatnots, because that's what you have in Fortnite, just
Mm.
skins and all sorts of other things that you can buy to just make your character just look as uh, awesome as you want it to be for whatever the V-Bucks go for these days. And that's the first thought that comes to mind. It's just
Hmm.
like, okay, so there's that. And then the other part of it is just kind of like okay, we want to also get into NFTs. And when I kind of hear that, it's just like, oh, God, not NFTs. Just nobody in the gaming world has really figured out NFTs, and the few video games that do feature NFTs have said some sort of terrible technical snafu that has resulted in people's stuff being stolen.
Mm.
And it's just like, okay, I don't know if you guys are just saying NFTs because you understand what they are and you're legitimately fascinated by the blockchain technology and want to somehow leverage it for some sort of monetization angle, or if you're just saying it just so it's something that your stockholders see and just go, yeah, hell yeah, NFTs,
Yeah.
fuck yeah. So it's just kind of like, what is what is the point or logic behind it? Because um, I just don't quite understand what angle they're trying to go for.
Yeah. And if this is part of the bigger game, like a Fortnite, you have to have reasons for someone to want to come back to it and play more. Like just like Fortnite, like there's a competitive element that players constantly play to get better at. When I first heard the report that they were doing big budget versions of Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi, my first question immediately was, well, what's big budget? Like,
Yeah,
what exactly is big budget here? Are we, because that with developers and companies like to change the meanings of words sometimes to fit their narrative. So, is big budget AAA? If it is, why did they say AAA? If it's not AAA, so are you saying it's a little bit more bigger than indie games? Is that what we're talking about? I don't know. So we don't really know that right now. And if it's part of a bigger game, I mean, it sounds ambitious if these two things are part of a much bigger game. But you'd have to blend them in a way that will fit with fit totally into one big game, and I just don't know how you do that since those two games are so different, and like one's an arcade game, and the other is it, would you call it Jet Set Radio a platformer of sorts? I don't know.
yeah, it's kind of like a platformer, since you've got all sorts of like movement moves that you're trying to in order to tag the walls, the buildings, the buses, and everything.
Yeah. So I just think about this, and I'm like, we don't know much information, do we? And with the articles out there, it seems like a lot of people have different interpretations of what all this is. I wouldn't be surprised if this turns into a PlayStation Home deal. This is the second week that I've mentioned PlayStation Home. Oh no. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a PlayStation Home thing for Sega, where they develop the game, but it's kind of a mini game in their bigger world. Because that's kind of what it sounds like to me. I don't know if this is what people think it is. Has there been an article that can refute that at all? That is saying, no, this is an actual $60 game that is going to be Crazy Taxi.
Yeah, I haven't really found anything that sort of definitively says what this even is, and to even add further confusion to the matter, some articles are seeing the Super game and then the Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi reboots as completely separate things.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so there's really no sort of clear idea of what in the world is going on, and that's what further adds confusion to this whole damn thing too, because it's just like, all right, well, is this a thing that's being done as a reboot, or is this legitimately a gigantic Roblox clusterfuck? What in the world is this?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if it's a Roblox thing, then all right, count me out. I'm not really interested. And then, of course, then on top of that, if these are separate games, seeing them mention Fortnite-style monetization, it just gets me thinking of stuff like battle passes, and the last thing I really want to do when playing Crazy Taxi is logging in, seeing a screen going, "Hey, here are your daily challenges to get to level 2 on your battle pass," and it's stuff like doing some certain objectives in order to play the game and everything, and just being nagged to death with that. So it's just like, ugh.
Crazy Taxi, unless you change it drastically, just doesn't fit in a free-to-play model. It is ostensibly an arcade game. You're playing a game that I think some can beat in an hour or two, really, if they're good at it. And you're meant to play it for like maybe 15 minutes and fail and get better at it. And the better you get, the longer the way arcade games used to work. You would have to drastically change Crazy Taxi in order for it to fit with a Battle Pass theme, because I don't see. Like, I'm thinking of other games like that. I don't see anyone saying, "I love Crazy Taxi so much that I'll get a Battle Pass for Season 1 so I can get a new skin in that Battle Pass." I don't see that being something that's attractive to somebody who wants to play Crazy Taxi. So, I don't know. And then with Jet Set Radio, these are both single-player games. How are they going to put this into... What are they going to change to put it into a bigger game with Battle Passes and DLC? I mean, that's my question that I have. It seems like, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, this got leaked. A bunch of reporters reported on it. They didn't have all the information, so they kind of, I don't know, went crazy with speculation, but they did speculate a little as to what this really is. And it may be attached to the Super game. It may not be. But it sounds like... I wouldn't be surprised if this was an idea that was dandied about a year ago in Sega, and then it kind of got scrapped, and we're just hearing about it now because it leaked somewhere. I have that feeling about this, that maybe this isn't as concrete as people are saying it is, because it says both projects are early in development right now. So I don't know. I kind of want to be excited because who doesn't like these games? But on the other hand, if reports are that they're trying to put this in the middle of a bigger metagame, I don't know if that's going to work.
Yeah, and again, I'm also with you on this. I'm just like, yeah, just this just seems sort of just buzzword word salad just to make stockholders happy. And it also doesn't help that just there's a whole bunch of speculation from reporters and everything about it, which also muddies the water. And uh, for me, it's just kind of like, okay, well, there's still so many unclear details, and for all we know, maybe this isn't really something set in stone. Maybe it's something that um, is being internally spitballed by some of the Sega execs.
Yeah.
There's there's just really no telling what in the world is going on with this.
Yeah.
So I remain a bit skeptical, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah. And with the way the reports are coming out, I wouldn't blame you. The smartest thing to do is not get worked up and be like, oh my god, it's coming out, where the reports are saying it's either part of a bigger metagame, it's its own game, it's only early in development. It's still up in the air. So I think you're smart in saying, I'm not going to get too excited right now. And just see where this goes. So, and of course, them shoehorning NFTs, and I'm surprised nothing blockchain was announced, or it's part of the metaverse in another year or so. We don't know. It's exciting. I'll admit, like, I never thought I'd see another one of these unless they just re-release the old games. But yeah, you're right. Use caution while getting excited by this. So Zero, I have a final question for you. I'll make this we'll make this a fun thing that we do at the end of each episode, and I'll just ask you a random question. What movie do you wish you could forget so you can watch all over again fresh for the first time?
Ooh, that's a really, really interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, maybe a little bit of a art house pick, but
Mm-hmm.
um, Hero with Jet Li in it.
Yes, Hero is
Um,
amazing.
yeah, I was such a fan of just the storytelling, the use of color in the movie and everything. It was just such an amazing experience just the first time around, and it's just one of those things that I'm just like, man, I would love to have just um have that movie loaded up, have a memory wipe, and just enjoy it like the first time I saw it, because just the storytelling and the use of color theme just sort of blew me away.
Yes, I mean, God, that was, I think that was 2004 that came out. Let me just double check. I used to know these things at the top of my head, and now 2002. Okay, I was wrong. This was before Crouching Tiger, Hidden. This was after Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and I
Yep.
loved Crouching Tiger because I also love the director. That's what got me to watch the movie.
Yep.
Um, yeah, like Hero is a beautiful movie. Like you said, they use the colors, the action in it. Um, The way they blend with the story real well, and the ending was really good.
Yep.
If I had to see something for the first time again, God, I don't know if it would be my favorite movie of all time that I would say that. I would. No, I won't use that. I'll go with Come and See, another art house film.
Okay.
Do you know what Come and See is?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna send you a trailer. And I'm going to pause this because it's loud. And while you watch the trailer, yeah, okay, it's going to give it away. But the movie is an '80s Russian movie about a young boy who's 11 who becomes a child soldier for Belarus when the Nazis invade. And it chronicles him going from an innocent boy who wants to join the army to what eventually he becomes at the end of the movie. It is dark. It is heavy. It is powerful. And it is hard to forget it once you've seen it.
Wow.
You're looking at the trailer right now that I put on there. Why don't you describe the picture you're seeing right now? Do you want to describe it or should I?
Oh, I'm watching through it real quick right now.
So the picture of it is a famous, for people who've seen it or people who've seen the trailer, it's a famous photo of the movie. And it's the boy having a gun to his temple from a Nazi soldier while he's clearly distressed while they're taking a picture of him, like a celebratory photo that they used to do in those times. It's a disturbing movie. Like, it is pure nightmare film. It's nightmare fuel. But it's such a powerful anti-war movie that I would probably, I would sit through it again just to experience it again. Because watching it a second time, the power does fade off, but you appreciate the movie in a different way. But man, the first time I saw it was just mind-blowing. I couldn't believe what I was watching.
Wow. Yeah, it definitely looks dark, sobering, and depressing.
Yes, it is. And one thing that I learned about it after I watched it, they used live ammunition in the movie.
Wow, sweet Jesus.
Mm-hmm. There's a scene in the... I don't think you'll ever see it, so I'll just talk about this part. There's a scene in the movie where he's trying to steal a cow. And the kid gets fired upon by the Nazis while trying to steal the cow. The cow gets shot. And because they used live ammunition, that cow actually got shot. And
wow,
they recorded the cow slowly dying. So you're actually watching a living being dying on film while...
Wow.
Yeah. Other than that or Wayne's World. If I want to go happy, then Wayne's World. Because Wayne's World... I've watched Wayne's World 28 times. And mostly when I was younger. I just loved how insane it was. But I tried watching it a couple years ago. And I couldn't sit through it. Because it was just like... It's memes, the movie. Have you seen Wayne's World?
As odd as this sounds, no.
I mean... I haven't seen Jaws. So, let's be fair. No, I've seen Jaws. What am I talking about? I haven't seen... There's a lot... Like, Back to the Future. I haven't seen Back to the Future. Like, and that people are like, how can you have not seen Back to the Future? And I'll turn around and say, how can you have not seen Come and See? I mean, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
But it's yeah, you just have different interests in the end. So, but yeah, like it's not. But Wayne's World, if you watch it now, is literally memes the movie. It's full of memes. It's just visual gags out of visual gags all over the place. And when I first saw it, it was funny as hell, and it was unique because there wasn't a film like it. Now you get that on Twitter whenever you get on when you're on the internet. So I don't know, but I love Wayne's World. Okay, so let's wrap this son of a bitch up. Turn that son of a bitch sideways and stick it up its candy ass. I don't know what I was going for. Okay. That does it for this episode of the Cooperative Game Chat. Tune in next week where we talk about more of the goings-ons and businesses and other bullshit from the gaming industry. I am the Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
And we will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.